Hi everyone, today I'm going to do quite a simple but impactful makeup look. This one is all about lips and eyebrows. This is based on a look that I did for Emma Stone recently in Paris, and when I posted a picture of Emma's look, so many people asked me for a tutorial, so I thought, well, it's a really nice one to do. It's easy to achieve, so I think you're going to like it. I have a beautiful model today called Cecile, so let's get started. So I'm going to start with this primer, which is the Wet n Wild one. I'm going to use this all over Cecile's eyelids. And now I'm going to use this palette, Tom Ford palette. I'm going to start with this rosy shade here. I'm going to use this more as a base, just across the lid and a little bit into the socket line. So this is a really quite natural colour. It's giving a tiny bit of definition, but you probably won't even register. This is a really good thing to start with, just because I am going to use some greys, but I want the effect to be so soft, so having this underneath will just help everything to sort of blend and transition nicely. So to start with a little bit of definition in, I'm going to try this palette, which is the Viseart Grande Pro, which looks amazing. And I'm going to use this matte grey and a couple of these shades just to create some natural shadow. And I think this is particularly good if you are a little bit hooded and you want to get that sort of almost, not to look particularly like makeup, but just to have that shadow just coming above the socket line. And if you are, I mean, your eyes aren't very hooded, but if you open your eyes, even here, you can just start to blend. So just take that grey, and you see how soft it is to start with, almost like you can't see it. You actually want that, because as it builds up, it starts to give you that natural definition. And the softer you start, the better the results are going to be. So don't be tempted to kind of go in really strong there, because you want hardly anything. And it's always easy to build up, but it's always harder to soften. So here, and this is very much a great way to get that, what I call natural eye with definition. As I say, particularly if your eyelids are hooded or you just feel that you've lost your socket line or definition there. So just starting to build up, and it is really, as I say, subtle. I'm also going to use that same grey tone just to start to create a little bit of shadow underneath. Look up, please, hon. And this, I think, can all be built up once we've got the liner on and we've got some lashes on and all the rest of it. So next I'm going to use liner. I'm going to use the Hindash. I'm going to use it just close for me. Just lifting up there, just really close to the roots of the lashes. Impossibly thin in the inner corner. And then just going to come a little bit up and a slight wing out just at the edge there. But I'm going to go over this with my, the deeper shade from the palette here. So this sort of darker grey. I'm going to use a small brush for that. I'm not too worried about anything dropping down, because I'll do skin in a moment. And I'm just going to start to just create some softness, a little bit of smokiness around that line. So we have the definition of the black at the roots, and then it fades to almost a charcoal effect. And I'm just patting in there. You could do it with black powder as well, if you want a little bit more definition. So I'm just taking it really thin at the inner corner, almost impossibly thin.
Would you advise people at home to always lift up the eyebrow to do an eyeliner?
Yeah, I mean, the good thing is you can just do that surprise look. You can just lift up your brows, by raising them, which is even better than lifting them up in this way manually. And then just while your eyebrows are really up, get as close into those roots as you possibly can. And then at the outer corner, I'm going to slightly wing up, which I have here already. This is something that I think you definitely have to finish when your eyes are open. So you can make a little start on it and then open, look straight ahead at me. And then while your eyes are open, you can just finish off a little guideline shape. As I say, I'm going to go over with powder anyway, but that's a nice guideline.
Would you say this is one of the easier looks? Because earlier you mentioned like a graphic look with eyeliner. I find this quite tricky.
Yeah, when you wanted that crispy graphic line just with liquid, it's quite tricky. Yeah, it's so much easier when you can just do the line thin, kind of map it out, and then use the powder.
Yeah, so you're cheating it with the smokiness.
You're cheating it with the smokiness.
Great.
So you get a lot of artistic license, particularly if you really want to wing up and you're more hooded, or you just feel like those wings never quite work. And when they're a little bit softer, I think they look nicer as well. I mean, unless you're just going for that kind of really, full-on graphic liner or like a slightly more vintagey look, but I think it looks more modern when it's a little bit smoked out. So I'm just checking from the front now. Look at me, and I can see that this line is a little tiny bit longer than this one.
How would you balance them out?
I'm just going to go back in now with my powder, actually, because I can get away with adding a little bit more, but again it's keeping it
subtle,
yeah,
because no one's eyelids are the same.
Oh god, no, everyone's eyelids are completely different. So just by adding that, I think the shape needs to be straighter there as well. I can see that now. And I think once we've got your eyelashes on and your mascara, then again you see almost a different shape. And once I've done that, I'm going to kind of almost smoke this up a little bit more. I'm going to leave it like that for now, whilst I give your eyelashes a curl. Okay, so I'm just going to do your lashes now, your mascara. So again, just really working from those roots.
And it's good to curl the eyelashes beforehand.
Yeah, no, definitely. It really makes a difference. And then kind of use the wand as well to push up.
It's very tricky to get into the sort of the base of the roots without that, I suppose.
Yeah, it really is. You can't kind of get underneath them enough. So just almost massaging them at the roots.
I find that the trickiest bit to get into because my eyelashes are quite fair.
Yeah, and you want them to be coated right down the bottom there, the base, to get the definition. I think it's just worth sort of spending a bit of time and also finding a brush that you feel is easy for you, because everyone's got a different level of comfort with brushes. So sometimes a brush will say, oh, this is a great brush, but I don't particularly like using it. So it is about finding those brushes. And sometimes for the roots, I find like a slightly curved brush kind of helps you push up the lashes. But then I know other people that like those really, really tiny brushes because they feel more comfortable having a brush that size going close to their eyes. So it's what you kind of feel is right for you.
Okay.
So I'm just dropping on some individual lashes. I'm working on my angles with these, so I'm keeping some of them slightly tilting out that way, and then around the centre, because I want more of a cat eye, I'm going to just drop them at an angle there.
So you said you have to wait for the glue to be tacky.
Yes, that really helps.
Because I always find that I'm a bit impatient and I try to either squeeze it with my fingers and then it gets stuck everywhere and get so frustrated, like with eyeliner when you're so involved in the precision when your eyes are shut.
Yeah. It gets frustrating.
It does. But a little squeeze maybe towards the end, did you say?
With these, yeah, as soon as they're dry, then I like to really squeeze them up to sort of fuse them in together. And I usually go back in and put a touch more mascara on as well, because it just, again, fuses them in. But I'm going to wait because I'm dying to do this sort of outer edge and finish off the under eyes. But I'm going to let that glue dry and go on to your skin. So I'm just going to clean a little bit underneath. I mean, we didn't do a big eye look, but there's always some drop down, even if it's, just a subtle shading. So a little clean up under there. I mean, your skin is like so gorgeous. Yeah, you've got beautiful skin.
Do you like to take care of it? So what are we putting on?
So this is a kind of all-in-one concentrate. It's like a treatment and a moisturiser and a sort of primer all-in-one. And I find it's one that really works well under foundation and makeup.
Feels amazing.
Yeah, it feels really nice. So I'm just going to do a nice little massage. Yes, sometimes if you're doing like a full makeup, it is about getting that base right, because otherwise if you put on too many products or products that don't agree with the rest of the makeup, you get that piling effect, that peeling, that rolling effect of the makeup. There is always a little bit of trial and error with what works under makeup. So on to highlight, I'm going to use my Elevated Glow, but this is a brand new shade. You're the first person actually to have it on.
Exciting.
This is Pink Moon, so it's a really nice light pink pearly colour. So it's perfect for either if you want that effect that's a little bit more pinky or a bit more rosy. So I'm going to use that just all over the cheekbones actually, and the cheeks as well.
And what does it do?
It gives the effect, that lovely kind of dewy effect and a slight pearl effect, but it also it's a bit like skincare. It's a bit like a primer in itself. It's got loads of skincare ingredients in, and it has this mesh in it which is skin tightening.
Ooh,
so
I love skin tightening.
skin
Sounds great.
tightening, yeah, it's so good for especially when you're dealing with around the sides of the eyes and you're highlighting there. You don't want anything that's going to emphasize any fine lines or
clogs it up.
Or clogs it up, and you can see it sort of sitting in the skin. So that's just really fine. I'm also going to use it down the centre of your nose, a little bit round forehead, and onto lips. I'm going to actually come back and do more of a traditional kind of highlighting with it once we've finished your makeup.
It's all purpose, really.
Yes, exactly. So I'm not going to do too much foundation on you because you've got perfect skin. Just going to do a little bit, probably more around the centre of your face. And obviously we're going to work under those eyes a little bit as well. So we're just going to go just around the centre of the face, and then I'll blend a little bit out towards the outer edges. And I'm just putting a thin layer on because I love your freckles. I don't want to cover them. And this look is really more of a fresh look anyway. So how did you get into acting?
I mean, I started with a sort of 10-year modelling background, but always seemed to book TV commercials and the more movement side of things.
Yeah.
And decided to do a 3-year drama degree
Where did you do that?
London. Just in Warren Street at the Actors Temple. And I think there's something to it where like when you are doing makeup, you're so close up that expression and everything can really add more to it. And it's this thought and all of this sort of twinkle in your eye behind it. So you're adding a twinkle above the eye, and I have to add the twinkle to the eye, so to speak.
I love that analogy.
Thank you. Yeah, you do a lot of red carpet looks. You do a lot of actresses as well as design for film, their makeup.
Yeah. So I do. I work with actresses a lot.
Would you say this is a red carpet look, or this is a bit more balanced in terms of a quite strong lip, brow and eye altogether?
I think because this was a kind of daytime event, and it was a sort of fashion event.
Yeah.
So we sort of, we didn't go full red carpet sort of premiere. I wanted it to work for the fashion show and for sort of daytime, but still have strength. So I'd say this is a kind of hybrid between a day look and a night look, and also it does have a little bit of a fashion-y edge to it as well. Okay, so I've done a light layer over of the foundation. So for under eye concealer, I'm going to use the Double Wear, and this is light neutral. I'm going to give that mainly in those inner corners, and then just blend out the edges there. I'm going to pat that one into place because it is definitely one of those ones that set, so the better it's applied, the less powder you need to set it. So I'm going to make sure it's really nicely in synergy with the skin. And I'm not really doing any correcting because you're not particularly blue under the eyes or anything like that. It's just a touch of redness there, but I'll see how this first layer kind of sits in. And I always do that with new clients anyway, just to kind of don't go in too heavy because you have no idea how the makeup is going to sit on people's skin until you experience it. I was working actually with a new client yesterday, an actress that I've always thought she was amazing. I got to work with her yesterday and she said to me, I sort of put the makeup in, the one thing you'll notice is this makeup won't move my face kind of once you've got it on really well. And I'm like, that's really good to know because everyone's different.
Everyone's different.
Some people's faces
textures
just,
as well.
Yeah, exactly, sort of eat makeup. And then, so she's kind of like, it's always good to be guided by someone who's been in the business a long time, knows exactly how makeup sits on their skin. Otherwise, I mean, I can always tell usually, but that's just from, you know, making up a lot of faces over the years. I am going to go in with a tiny bit more, maybe just into the inner corners there. And then I'm going to use a little bit of pinpoint concealer just to get any areas that I can't catch with this. Let's see. Which is, you're very lucky, your skin. It's a mixture of genes, right, and looking after it.
Yes.
And you protect your skin in the sun by the looks of it as well.
Always.
What do you like to use?
Well, actually, I need to educate myself a bit more rather than sort of being gullible as to what the sales people are putting out there. But I think SPF 50 is quite important, UVA as well as UVB.
Yeah, broad spectrum. I'm going to use this liquid blush, but I'm going to mix it in with the highlighter, which is still actually here on the back of my hand. So I'm going to have a highlighter blush. I'm going to do this before I do pinpoint concealing, just because it is a liquid product, and also if anything moves around I might want to go in and do a little retouch using this nice and light on the cheeks. Just kind of patting it there. There we go. So that's just a sort of fresh, as I say, it was a kind of day look, so amped up day look, I'd say. So it's bringing that kind of mixture of highlighter and blush onto the cheeks just gives that beautiful, fresh vibrancy to the skin. I'm going to blend that around the edges with the foundation. Well, what's left on the brush, which is nothing really. So I'm just going to go back in for a tiny bit of pinpoint concealing. I'm actually just going to use a little bit of foundation again because it's going to be enough coverage and there's really not too much to conceal at all. So I'm just kind of blending any little areas where I think we could just have a tiny bit more coverage, but again I want to keep the whole look really fresh. I'm trying to think what to call this look. It's kind of like a daytime event look, would you say? Because it's like a bit more than you bother with on a regular day.
Not quite woke up like
anything.
this, but very sort of energized.
Okay, so I'm just looking here and there, and then I'm going to put a tiny bit more here, and then I'm going to set that with a tiny little bit of powder. Not much, I'm just going to use a loose powder because I really want to finish the eyes off. Now we kind of got more of the look coming together. Right, so going back to eyes, I'm going to start to use a little bit more underneath. So I was using this lightish and medium grey. So I'm going to mix those together and then go back in with, I'm going to use this to lean on. Yeah, mix them together really. And just check that, look up, darling. So just pushing a little bit into the, I want this to be pretty light, it's not dark under the eyes. And then at the absolute outer corner there, you can go a little bit deeper. I just use the slightly more deep grey shade. Okay. And then look down for me and look up halfway, sorry. I'm just going to bring that shadow up to join the wing. So it shouldn't make the wing any thicker, but it should just sort of communicate between the underneath and the wing so that there's a kind of shadow there. Before I do the other eye, I'm just going to do some lower lash mascara and just make sure that I'm happy with how that's looking before I commit on the other eye again. So just taking that through those lashes. Oops, I completely blobbed your mascara. Get that off quickly. And then I'm going to use a little brush just to brush through those.
Is that to separate?
Yeah, I mean, you can do it probably more so with the mascara, but I always like to just
give it an extra once
over. Yeah,
over.
just give it an extra once over. And I just like doing it with a clean brush because then you're not adding any more depth. And then once you've done that, you can see where your little gaps are, if there are any. I might just finish everything on this eye so you can see my process a little bit more. And then look down for me, and then I would pinch those false lashes with the lashes underneath, and I'd also go back in with mascara again at those roots and just take those through. Let's see, just kind of grips the fake lash with the natural lash. You don't see the step. Comb that centre one a little bit more, and then I'm going to put a little bit extra just on the outer corners on the wing there. So I'm just going back in. I want to figure out where I want most of that shading, and if I want to, I can go a little bit deeper, ever so subtly, just around this area, which is always good for lifting the eyes. And then I'm going to go back in with the original shade that I used, which was this sort of rosy shade that we began with, and just blend that all in again. So for brows, this was quite a strong look, as in it was lots of kind of individual hairs and created quite a strong brow. I think for you we're going to go softer because your natural brows are already lighter. So I'm going to define them, but maybe not do quite as much. I'll do a few strokes with the little pen here, which is the little Stila pen, so we get some of that featheriness, because there definitely was quite a feathery eyebrow happening. But I'll make the overall look a little softer, so just kind of increasing those little hairs into there.
And do you follow the natural shape of an eyebrow?
Yeah, I mean, I want to give a little bit more height, so I am going in a little bit behind as well, behind the actual...
To add that strength and definition then, I guess.
Yeah, almost like just brushing down. I've drawn in a little bit of a extra hairs sort of behind the arch there, which when you first draw them in, you're like, wow, that's too high. But then when you brush them back, it kind of starts to fill in. This pen is slightly too warm, so... Sorry, that pencil rather, slightly too warm.
Yeah, I think eyebrows are quite tricky.
Yeah, because you want them to look natural, but we're defining them, so you can see we're just kind of building them up there. And I think the key is also the shade that you use. So although you have a lot of red in your hair, your eyebrows aren't particularly red, so I don't want to add any red there, but just keep them, but again not too grey because then they go quite ashy. So it's about getting that shade that kind of feels like they're defined, but they're not too red or too dark, just to keep them looking natural. So for lips, because I wanted to play up the, obviously get your beautiful hair here, I always find with redheads, gorgeous redheads, that these kind of slightly cooler tones, but not too blue. It's almost like they've just got enough in them to not look too orangey, but also they're not too cold either. So Painterly's a really good shade for that, which is more of a sheer tone. And then I put a smidge in of Velvet Midnight, which is more of like a vampy sort of deep berry tone. And I do love these berry tones. So I used about sort of that kind of a proportion to create the stain. Originally, we kind of wanted to go a bit more deep with the lip. And then, in fact, that is too deep what I've just put on. And then I think when, you know, the black clothes go on, I think it's sometimes you can't really tell your makeup until you've got what you're wearing on. You know, whether you're wearing all white or all black, it really can affect the makeup. So often when someone's wearing a lot of white, I'll end up kind of tweaking a lot with blush and things once, because you can start to look washed out, and black as well. And makeup can start to, you know, just look completely different once the real outfit is on, if you know what I mean. So I'm just going to do a layer of this, and then we'll do a little blot. And I'll do a little bit of lip pencil as well. Just smell for me. So I'm just tracing those edges. It's going a little bit pouty on the upper lip here. So just adding a bit more volume there. And then through the lower lip, just gonna give that a soft edge. So I'm using a pencil which is actually a bit lighter than the lipstick. And then we're going to go back in and do our next layer of lipstick. In fact, we can probably do that straight from the bullet. Let's see. So I'm just going back in with Painterly. So now I'm just going to go back in with a little bit of highlight. I'm going to use two different things. I'm going to start again with the Elevated Glow in Pink Moon. So this is just really to now give a really nice highlight. So this time I'm kind of smoothing and patting it onto the cheek, so it's just more visible. And same the other side. Just turn that way, there we go. And then for the inner corner of your eyes, I'll use a little bit of this one, which is more of a powder highlight. It's quite light, but I think it'll be really lovely at the inner corner, and maybe even just a touch on the brow bone as well. A little sparkle. Just blend that in a bit. And I'll just put a little bit of that through, just very softly through the edge of the eye there.
These are all the little tricks to brighten
just the final. I always say that the best bit of the makeup is in the last 5 minutes. That's when it comes together. Until then, it's always lacking and lacking and lacking. And then at the end, you just do all your tweaks and add all your little bits and, you know, reconceal something or go in and add a bit more light somewhere or a bit more shading somewhere, a touch more mascara. And then suddenly you're like, oh, okay, now it's good.
The devil's in the detail.
Yeah. Okay, so we're nearly done. I'm just going to use a little tiny bit of bronzer, just very lightly, here and there. And then I shall do my finishing powder and touches. So So what's next for you then, my dear? What have you got? What's lined up for you?
What's lined up? Well, hopefully some of these more glamorous looks. I think the last role I had was a Dutch trucker, so I did not look half as amazing as I do now.
I want to see you. What's it called?
It's a short film called Losing Us, and it was about human trafficking, unfortunately. But I quite like working on amazing stories that need sort of a bit more attention.
Yeah.
That or sci-fi roles, because I love makeup. I really do. I do sort of Dune or anything Star Wars with amazing, incredible.
Great makeup. Oh,
yeah.
That sounds brilliant. Well, I really want to check you out as a Dutch trucker.
She was quite intimidating. I had a fake eyebrow piercing and everything.
Oh, did you?
And some extremely smudged under eye mascara.
Black sort of liner. Yeah.
Yes.
I'm just doing a little bit of powder. I mean, you're not going crazy with the powder, just here and there. Just so we keep our focus of our shine more on this outer area.
I think normally I've got like all these sort of rules in my head about makeup that you seem to have smashed through.
Oh, really?
And like really sort of educated me today, because I always thought like lip liner had to go on first, or I had to spend hours and hours perfecting sort of the left and the right side, whether that's eyebrows or eyeliner. And actually it's so much more easier than that.
Have a look, see what you think of the
That's
finished
great.
look.
It was amazing.
I mean, it's nice and fresh still. I mean, you have obviously got quite a bit of makeup on, but hopefully you feel like the effect is not, that you can...
It feels natural and it feels really balanced.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Feels
like,
comfortable and balanced.
Hello, eyebrows. I've got eyebrows.
Yeah. But without them kind of walking into the room first.
Exactly.
You've got your sort of lip, which is strongish, but not super strong. I'm going to give you this colour actually because I love it on you. And then just that little bit of little dust at the end. Yeah, you're done. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's been a real pleasure.
It's been lovely.
And I almost want to see you with your hair down now. Look, against those colours against your hair colour. Amazing. Beautiful.